Leader of the third party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Budget 2023 saw very little in the way of expanding BC Transit, but people outside of the Lower Mainland and Greater Victoria would like to have reliable public transit. Let's just compare the CRD, where there are 30 buses a day between Souk and Victoria that cost $2.50, versus the Cowichan Valley Regional District with a population of 83,000 people, and there are 6 buses in the morning between 5:30 and 6:45 a.m. and 6 buses in the evening, and that's it. And they cost $10 each way. We have a deep inequality when it comes to public transportation in this province. If you live in Quesnel, you can't get a bus to Prince George. If you live in Merritt, good luck getting to Hope. Penticton to Vancouver, faster to ride a bicycle than to catch a bus. My question, Honourable Speaker, is to the Minister of Transportation. Does he believe that all British Columbians should have access to reliable public transportation in and between their communities?
Minister of Transportation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question, because it gives me an opportunity to talk about Budget 2023 and the record levels of investment for public transit in this province. The service plan before government quadruples capital investments in public transit in every community around British Columbia that is served by BC Transit, Mr. Speaker. It builds upon record levels of investment in expanding operations of public transit services throughout communities in BC. Make no mistake, we are blessed in this province to have a system like BC Transit that other provinces do not have, where every community with over 5,000 residents has a service provider in the BC Transit system. We are expanding inter-community routes and services across this province, including in that member's constituency. The context of this budget is in marked contrast to other provinces right now, Mr. Speaker, where the debate is about how many service hours they are cutting, how many employees they are laying off. They are moving backwards on transit. This province is moving forwards in gigantic leaps and bounds by making record investments in the expansion of public transit in our province. Thank
you. Leader of the third party supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm keen to hear more about these record investments. From what I saw looking through the budget was a $6 million increase to operations for BC Transit. Maybe the Minister can explain that part. And I'm also hearing that the plan for my riding is actually to reduce the number of commuter buses, not increase. We currently are in a situation in British Columbia where people outside of the Lower Mainland and the CRD have limited to no access to public transportation within their communities or between their communities. And honestly, having buses that are running that aren't part of a network, that don't meet the needs of people, that aren't reliable or regular enough, doesn't create the network of public transit that we need. I'm going to go back to my original question, Honourable Speaker, again to the Minister of Transportation. Does he believe that all British Columbians should have access to reliable public transportation in and between their communities?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And again, to the member, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about some of the improvements that are happening. First of all, between communities, as she mentions, where there has been service gaps that have been filled by this government since Greyhound pulled out of here in 2018. We have worked very hard to create a new company called BC Bus North, which we are funding through the Northern Development Initiative Trust. We have also expanded the number of communities connected by BC Transit. Pemberton Whistler has a commuter, Nelson Castlegar, Trail Castlegar, Osoyoos, Princeton, Kelowna is now connected to Penticton. There is service from Vernon to Kelowna, operated by BC Transit. And as the member knows, there is service from Victoria to Cowichan Valley that didn't exist a couple of short years ago, as well as between Victoria, Shawnigan Lake, and the new Nanaimo-Cowichan Express, which we introduced in Budget 2022. I know the member will probably vote against this budget, even though it represents the largest expansion of BC Transit funding in decades, Mr. Speaker. For the record, the member should know, and perhaps I would direct your attention to BC Transit's service plan, but the service plan calls for $1.35 billion in operating funding for BC Transit. That is the largest sum of money for operations of transit, allowing an expansion of service that this province has ever seen, as well as a record investment of $1.2 billion in capital. And on top of that, Mr. Speaker, this budget, introduced by our finance minister for the first time, introduces money to align affordable housing with public transit expansion through the introduction of a transit-oriented development fund. That's what progress looks like, Mr. Speaker, and that's what this budget does.